This episode of She Hulk is brought to you by LinkedIn, Red Bull, Crocs, and Twerking, all in that order. Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'm Reina Creole, of course, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis, and of course, keeping it real when it comes to theme parks. And in this episode, we are up to episode 3 of She-Hulk Attorney at Law over on Disney Plus. Now, if you've been following my reviews of this show, I didn't like episode 1. Episode 2 was okay. And I was about to give episode 3 a slightly higher grade until I saw two things show up that I didn't particularly care for. One of them I could live with, the other, it's just like, get the frick out of here. But anyway, we'll get to that in a little bit. But before we do get things kicked off, please do your girl a favor. Please do hit that subscribe button. And then once you do, please do make sure that you have that notification bell turned on, because if YouTube does its job, which hasn't been doing a good job of lately, you'll get notified when your girl has hot, fresh content to enjoy. So with that said, let's get on to me reviewing this episode. Okay, so last week's episode, we found out the Abomination escaped from prison. Well, in this episode, it turns out that the Abomination really didn't escape because he wanted to and put his parole hearing in a violation. Apparently, he was kidnapped by Wong, Sorcerer Supreme, because, well, Wong needed a worthy opponent, so he figured he would just bust the Abomination out of prison. Now, the Abomination did return. However, apparently Jen needed to track Wong down so he could testify on the Abomination's behalf at the parole hearing. But they didn't quite know where to get him. But interestingly enough, he had a LinkedIn profile. I forgot LinkedIn actually sponsored this show too. So Jen's paralegal decides to post a thirst trap, picture her with some books in order to get Wong to come back and testify. Can I just say I'm really getting sick of the Wong cameos? I loved Wong in the first Doctor Strange movie. I didn't mind him showing up in the likes of Endgame. Even dealt with him showing up in Spider-Man No Way Home, but I'm really getting freaking sick and tired of seeing Wong. Unless you're gonna show me Doctor Strange, I don't want to see anybody coming from another dimension. But that's another side thing. So of course you have Jen getting used to her role as, She-Hulk and all of that. And of course, everyone wants to know who she is, what she's doing, and her paralegal's like, all you need to do is just get an interview, grant an interview, so you can satisfy people's curiosity and all of that going on. So eventually they run this news blurb, which I'm actually going to pop up here so you can see, which started out okay, but then it got to a point where it was pretty freaking petty.
They took the Hulk's manhood away, but then they gave it to a woman?
Yeah, man, I don't get it. Why are you doing everything more female? So we have a Me Too movement, and now all the male heroes.
I have no problem with female heroes. I'm just saying, make your own. I don't know about y'all, but I'd smash.
Now, as you can see, obviously, they're trying to clap back at the fanboys who, I guess, Marvel thought, well, fanboys aren't going to like She-Hulk because it's a female character. No, not too keen with She-Hulk because she doesn't your character on the show doesn't jive with the comic book character. So, frankly, I thought that was petty as hell of Marvel to do. So, you lost points for that in this episode from me. Interesting how you didn't show any women who weren't too pleased with She Hulk either. But I guess that's internalized misogyny, and they didn't want to show that. Now, two things I did like about this episode. One, I like Puglisi. I like him. And I like the fact that Dennis's narcissistic ass apparently had to be defended by Pug since Dennis got catfished uh, by a elf resident of New Asgard or whatever, catfished Dennis into thinking that he was dating Megan Three Stallion. Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was interesting because they asked the obvious question, well, why are you coming to a lawyer who's part of the superhero division? Well, because a supervillain kind of tried to defraud him. So I thought that was an interesting, funny play. So that kept me interested a lot more than the main story of the Abomination up for parole, bringing in his 8 sister girlfriends, I guess he called them soulmates or whatever, as a show of how remorseful and how he is or whatever. Basically, that was something straight out of Love After Lockup. Um, they actually had the Abomination transform as a way to show that he could transform and still keep his nature. So he even daintily took off his little white Crocs, yes, another product placement, transformed into the Abomination to show that he could still be the Abomination and still be that gentle, cuddly, reformed prisoner. I don't know if I particularly like that. I don't like how toothless they're starting to make the villains look. Well, they've been doing that on Disney Plus. So I was neither impressed nor intrigued with the Abomination, frankly, unless they're gonna let him go full ham. Just leave him in his human form as Emil Blonsky. Really, that's more interesting. Jen is still annoying in this, whiny, just. I mean, when she's trying to tell Emil Blonsky, dude, you can't be escaping from prison when you're up for parole. She doesn't speak with authority. She just whines, and that tone is really grating on me. I like her better, and she sounds better when she's She-Hulk. She actually seems to have some gravitas to her voice, and actually to her character. So again, with the stuff I didn't like, don't like Wong being dropped in all the time. They could have done something else. I would have liked Stephen Strange to actually show up. That actually would have been cool. I still don't like the fact that this just seems to be a mediocre comedy show with a superhero kind of like afterthought, of afterthought element. It's not really entertaining me. I didn't see Titania this week, so I'm pissed she didn't show up. Also, the other cameo, which I think the news had dropped a couple of days before, that Megan Thee Stallion shows up in She Hulk. Why? Her cameo is she shows up in the courtroom with her fan, basically, and she's the only Megan Thee Stallion, and that was it. And she's just dressed like the church lady. Megan wasn't dressed like the way she usually is, on stage. And if you've seen, the WAP video with Cardi B, you know exactly what she likes to wear. So she wasn't wearing that. She was just in court. I just thought that was a gratuitous cameo. I wasn't really interested. Then again, Little Kim did it first. And I would have given them much more credit if they would have put Little Kim in there instead of Megan Thee Stallion, but that's just me. Okay, so I actually was going to give this episode about a 7 because it did entertain me somewhat, even though I didn't like the pettiness of trying to call out the Marvel fanboys. I read through the rest. I watched the rest of the credits, which I do like how they render the credits, like with the artist rendering of the court proceedings. I actually like that part. But then they got to the end, and you see, in full view of everyone in that glass office, you see Jen Walters twerking.
Almost tasted that. Num 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 num, eat it up. Go play okay, 3, 2, 1. You know I'm the hottest. You ain't never gotta heat me up.
And not only do you see her twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, egging her on, we get a close up shot of her ass, of Tatiana Masalawi's non existent ass trying to twerk. Now, your girl is no prude by any sense of the word, and this TV show is rated TV 14. Here's my problem with it. Okay, number one, they show her boss coming by and seeing her in there doing that, dropping her ass and twerking. Your girl is a professional woman. I would never freaking do that. Jen is supposed to be a professional woman, a lawyer, the person who was worried that this law firm booked her because, well, hired her because she was a superhero, and she was worried people wouldn't think that that was the only reason that she got hired. Yet she doesn't seem to have a problem twerking her ass in front of her coworkers and her boss. Okay. And also, let's not forget the first episode, that whole monologue about her being able to control her rage, that she has to keep it under control because men are catcalling at her, and such a thing could lead to her possibly losing her life. And with all of that said, with all of that preaching and all of that demonization of the quote unquote male gaze, what are we treated to? Her shaking her ass and a close up on her ass. I don't have a problem with you showing twerking. I mean, if this was like, say, if she was at a club doing that, or if she was at a Megan Thee Stallion concert doing that, I wouldn't have any problem with that. If it was like late at night and the door was shut and they were blowing off some steam because they just nailed and won this case and they were doing that, and someone just happened to walk by at night and see that, I could understand that because that's late at night, hardly anybody is there. But you go from demonizing the male gaze and pointing it as if, you know, Jen Walters or the like, unless they endure cat calling, that their life is in danger from quote unquote the male gaze, but yet you have no problem putting the camera close up on her flat ass twerking. No, no. And then you only decide to do that when you bring in Megan Thee Stallion. Of course, I won't even go into the whole sexualization of Black women, but you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that. So it's okay for her to demand that catcalling puts her in a precarious position and that she feels oppressed by men when that happens. But it's perfectly okay for her to twerk her ass, right? Just freaking be honest. Just be honest about it. That's all I'm saying. Mm. So anyway, with that, if I had to give this episode a rating, I'd give it a 6. I mean, I would have given it a 7, but I didn't like the petty nonsense trying to call out the fanboys, and I didn't like the freaking twerking going on because it contradicts with the rah rah woman bad male gaze bad thing with the first episode. So you contradicted yourself there, and I didn't like that. So overall, am I going to keep watching? Yeah, because I am enjoying this freaking train wreck, but I'm calling this stuff out because what are you going to do? Call me sexist? I dare you to call me racist, but I don't think you're going to do that. All right, folks, that is going to wrap up this review of She-Hulk episode 3. The latest MCU dumpster fire to show up on Disney Plus. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. Let me know, if you enjoyed it. There's some of you who are enjoying the episodes, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just here to give you my opinion and let you go ahead and form yours. I will say, I would rather watch this than Amazon's Rings of Power. That is not an understatement. Just saying. So, until the next video, I will see you next time. Bye.